Mama.
Mama.
Mom.
Mom.
Mom. Mom.
Mom.
Being a mom is a full-time job,
Some days you wonder if you're even going to keep it together.
but you're not alone.
Because we've got your back.
We're single moms talking about parenting, divorce, dating.
And everything else in between.
I'm Julie.
And I'm Jesenia.
This is Splitting Upward.
Hello, 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 everyone. This is Splitting Upward. Welcome back. I am Jesenia.
I'm Julie.
Yes, and this is a divorce episode.
We're
that
doing a full-on divorce-focused show
Yes.
because it's a topic that's important to a lot of people, especially
Yeah.
here at Splitting Upward, where we talk about all kinds of things related to the journey of single motherhood,
Yes.
and divorce is definitely one of them.
So if you are going through a divorce, have been divorced, thinking about it, or thinking about getting married, you might want to tune in and listen. But okay, so to get us started off, there was an article on Reddit, and it listed the most outrageous reasons people have filed for divorce. And some of these are like really, really ridiculous.
And I'm still trying to figure out how to use Reddit, by the way. So, like, for me, it was like going through them. It was like, oh, okay. All right, I think I got it. So,
We'll link you. It's very interesting. A recent Reddit post went viral. Asked divorce lawyers of Reddit, what's the most outrageous reason people file for divorce? The first one, I'm going to give you this one. We're just going to start it off, right? He got drunk at the wedding. She did not like it and decided to divorce him right after the honeymoon. She wanted to get that honeymoon in.
Damn, girl. But did he go with her?
Oh, no. She went without him.
Oh, she just like flat out, I do, I don't. See ya.
She went without him. I mean, come on. I wouldn't. I guess if they did go together, she could have been acting throughout the whole thing. But I think that's just a lot of energy. Just go alone.
Yeah, seriously. So good.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess good for you that you decided right then and there.
Is that a divorce at that point? Isn't it like an annulment?
Yeah, I don't know. We should. You know what? We have a divorce expert
Yes.
coming on later. Maybe we'll have to ask her
Yes,
that
for
question.
sure.
All right. So there were so many answers to this Reddit post, and again, some of them were hysterical. So here's another one. One man's wife was such a loud chewer at the dinner table that he developed a complex, like literally needed out, as he couldn't bear to eat with her. Now hold on, because this is a condition, and it's called misophonia. Misophonia is actually when a sound grates on you so badly that you just can't take it. So he did the right thing by leaving, because otherwise he probably would have punched her in the jaw.
Yeah, they would have had a terrible relationship. So I guess good for him. But
harsh,
have
but-
you never spent time with her? Like, was this like hey, hi, person, let's get married today? I don't understand that one. All right. One woman told her lawyer, the dog he bought me pissed on the carpet. Come on.
I know. She just needs to get over herself.
Like, take the dog for walks, don't be lazy. Or put those little wee-wee pads or set up like a little spot for him. Don't divorce your man.
Look.
That's so weird.
Marriage is hard. You and I know this, having been there, done that. And there were certainly things that my ex-husband would do that would make me kind of go, oh my God, if he does it one more time, I'm out the door.
This was probably one of those things that it was like the icing on the cake, They've had like all these problems.
Right. It's never
one on
just
top of
this.
Yeah, no, it's never just this. For sure.
Right, I want to do that last one.
All right, go ahead.
No. You do the next one.
Oh,
I didn't do
okay.
that. I didn't
all
do the one. That one.
So a lady divorced her husband of 2 months because he got her an iPad case for her birthday instead of expensive jewelry she wanted.
I can't with these people. Like, really?
That's a little petty.
Yeah.
I should. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a story. I'm gonna one up you. I'm gonna like 1,000 up you on that one. Okay, I think it was Valentine's Day. Okay. We were married for a few years, maybe like 6 years or something like that. It's kind of when I knew when I should have probably gotten a divorce at that point, but I didn't. I went on for the long haul. He got me. Get ready.
Oh no.
We should put a drum roll.
I'm afraid.
A Payless gift card.
Stop it now. Stop it now. Was it BOGO week? Because that actually helps.
It was a Payless gift card. And then I said, how much is it for? I'm thinking $20.
I'm not laughing.
It wasn't even in a Valentine's Day
laughing.
card, though.
He just like handed you the gift card?
Yes,
that
he
he
was just like,
found on
"Here."
the street? Like what?
I
Oh,
thought,
honey.
this isn't going to last
You
long.
know what? We need to put that on the list because that's definitely a good reason.
That's when I should have called up Jonna.
That's
and
a good
I should have been like,
reason.
I'm getting a divorce. Screw this.
Unbelievable. Yeah, this one when I was going through the list, this one.
What's your favorite?
This one made me laugh out loud.
Let's hear it.
A man divorced his wife for her bingo addiction. She would play 10 to 12 times a week. She was 82.
Aw.
He was 86.
Aw.
He didn't like that little stamping. B9.
That's
I-27.
so stupid.
Bingo.
Like, you're so old now.
Old.
What are you doing? Why are you going to spend all this money on a divorce? And
Have you ever done bingo, like in a legit bingo hall?
yes, I have.
Right. So I, grew up in South
You
Florida.
can get stuck there.
Oh my! It is like a time warpy kind
Yeah,
of
no,
thing.
it is.
But it's kind of awesome.
It is.
too.
It's you. All you want to do is win, and most of the time you don't, and that's why it becomes addictive.
Yeah, and you want to beat the old lady down.
And it smells like cigarettes in there.
well, that's
so
true.
much cigarettes.
That is absolutely true.
But that's. I mean, I don't understand how people can get divorced that late in life.
Well, but you know what? I'm hoping, like, I'm gonna write the fantasy for this 86-year-old. He dumps bingo lady,
Yeah.
and he's gonna go find himself someone new.
He ain't gonna find nobody.
Come on now.
Ain't nobody gonna want him. They're probably in the, actually the
shriveled up.
most, okay, so what are they, retirement homes? They have the highest cases of HIV, actually.
And
because,
STDs.
Yeah, and
Yep.
STDs because they have so much sex. And
A lot of
it's-
booty going on with
And
the
they
old
don't
ladies.
use condoms. They don't
Yeah,
use
because
condoms.
they don't think they need them.
Yeah, they're like,
It's
I'm
absolutely-
old, and she's not gonna get pregnant, so. Right? All right, so talking about divorce.
Yeah, because divorce is sometimes hilarious. Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Not really ever.
No, yeah. Sometimes it's like, it breaks your heart. And do you just get over divorce? Do you really just get over it, right?
See, so those three words are like my least favorite words.
I know.
My mom will tell you that because those are her three favorite words to tell me. Like, whenever I have anything to say, she's just
Yeah.
like, get over it. But in this instance, is
Right.
divorce something you just get over? I think it's a very good question. This comes up too because there was a mom.com article that
Right.
Katie Smith wrote where she talked about how moving on after her divorce was tricky,
Right.
And it definitely is tricky, and it takes a while depending
Yeah.
on what your situation is and what your setup is. Like, I don't think you do just like wake up the next day and like, oh, all right, I'm moving on.
No, I don't think you do the next day. I mean, it depends on how happy you are with the divorce, I think. But, I think when divorce happens for everyone, at least for me, I felt like, oh man, I failed at this. I really failed at this. And this sucks. I don't like to fail at things. You know what I mean? So it's like, damn. It took me, I would say, maybe about 2 years, two years to really just like be like, all right, it's over. It's cool. I think you have to just get yourself through the emotions and allow yourself to express whatever you're going to express. Keep the curses to a minimum and don't insult them in public or in private.
Or on a podcast.
Or on a podcast. But yeah, just, take your time with it. I don't think there's any really time limit, but I think getting over things or accepting things for what they are is something that's important to do. For sure.
And there's no secret to when. There's no time frame to when. I remember, for a few years after the divorce, right? Like Christmas was a big deal. My ex-husband comes from a Catholic family, a big, huge Catholic family. I came from a very small family. So Christmas time, we would go to upstate New York to his family and have these really beautiful experiences. Like, you knew that, Aunt Arlene was bringing the fried rice, and you knew that Uncle Ray was going to be there and tell stories, that kind of thing. So I remember the first Christmas, I could actually get a little choked up thinking about it, when my children, and they were really young when we got divorced, they all piled into the minivan, and I had to watch them drive away. And it was so sad. And here we are many years later,
And
I'm still sad. Thank you, Baba.
Aww.
Thank you.
No, I get it. I mean, it's raw feelings. It's the little girl in us. We want to get married and live happily ever after, of course, But I think I was watching Sex in the City, and I heard like
Where's this going?
No, yeah. I heard like this. It's a quote that she said in the movie, and Sarah Jessica Parker, who I love, by the way, and it helped me. It helped me. She said some stories are long novels, some are short stories, and some are just paragraphs in our lives.
Mine's a dirty limerick, by the way. I'll tell it to you later.
But I think if we look at that, we look at our lives and we see that relationship, that marriage as something that had to happen so we can be who we are today. And it's something that just we experienced, we went through, and now we're on a new chapter, or a new novel.
And be kind to yourself. Divorce is hard. Like you said, you don't like to fail at things. Something that somebody,
that was something
right?
huge.
But so here's something that somebody said to me that I hadn't even considered, and this was right after we had split up. And somebody that I know and I've known for years, who's been single.
Right.
He looked at me and he said, "What, do you think you failed?" And I said, "Yeah, I do." And he said,
Right.
"I've never done it. You've at least done it." And that to me was like, oh, wow, thank you.
Yeah.
As hard as it was in that moment, realizing now I'm a divorced mom
Right.
of 3, holy crap. But he gave me a different perspective that I hadn't even considered.
Yes.
So it was beautiful being able to share and being open. But seriously, be kind to yourself in the process. And we're actually going to do something to help you with the process.
Yes.
Yeah, Jonna Spilbor is
Yes.
our guest today.
She's a divorce attorney, family law. She's very smart. She knows what she's talking about.
We'll be back with Jonna Spilbor on Splitting Upward.
Splitting Upward.
We are in the middle of our divorce episode here at Splitting Upward. And we are lucky
gonna
enough
get
to
juicy.
have a divorce expert in the house with us today. She's an attorney, columnist, radio host, and TV legal analyst, and she's specializing in family law and divorce. Please welcome Jonna Spilbor.
So happy to be here, ladies. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for coming in. As we were talking before we got on the air, and you're a divorce attorney, you're an expert, and we joked that because Jesenia and I have both been through a divorce,
Both
we're
of us.
experts too.
I'm sure we've been
you
through.
are.
I'm sure we've been through different versions of divorce. Like I got my divorce online.
You did?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah. Most people don't have that luxury.
Seriously,
right.
I literally. Yeah,
I didn't even know that. That's amazing.
I don't know how much he paid for it. He did it because I couldn't afford it at the time. Like,
Are you
I'm
sure
taking
you're
care of the
divorced?
No, I am. I went to the court. I got the license or
did.
certificate or whatever it is. Yeah, I got it myself.
You got that. Okay.
I also
You scared me a little.
when we were going through it, I thought, is this real?
Okay, but that's what, fair question.
Okay.
Have you seen that happen?
So, there are a lot of agencies or online places that purport to give you a quickie, cheap divorce. Because
Yes.
one of the things, probably the biggest thing, aside from the kids, when people are getting divorced, the first question that comes out of their mouth is, how much is this going to cost me?
Yes.
And when there's a cheap, I'll say inexpensive option, people will gravitate
Yes.
toward that. But not everybody can take advantage of that. And you're lucky because you have a child. When you have kids, and if you have, say, a business or something that needs to be independently evaluated, you're not getting a divorse online. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, no.
you know.
We had a non-contested, I think it's called.
Oh,
right?
if you had an uncontested, good, okay, and see, because I call uncontested divorces unicorns because they don't really exist.
Had one.
Okay.
We both were excited to be divorced from each other. And I got custody. He doesn't have custody. I have custody.
Does he have visitation?
It's not like it's not legal. It's just,
Okay, just
us
when you
agreeing
can?
to,
Okay.
yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's great when you can agree.
Yeah. I'm all about it.
Awesome.
It's like, you can have them anytime you want.
She's going to put me out of business.
No. But I feel like, if it is that amicable, I feel
Right.
like that is I think it's a resource if you don't want to pay like through the roof.
Right.
I think it's above, it's a little bit above $1,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is really inexpensive.
But then again, that was 8 years ago. It might be a little bit more now. I don't know.
And the key to it is you had an uncontested divorce.
Yes.
Which means, for people who want to know, you've agreed on everything. When you don't have to fight about anything, even when you have an attorney, your legal fees will be lower because time literally is money.
Right,
and the more
absolutely.
you fight, the more time it takes and the more it's going to cost you.
Right.
And now we know there are different kinds of divorce settlements that you can go through. So you can, each of you could get divorce attorneys. You can go through mediation. There's
Right,
collaborative law.
right.
What do you typically recommend? What's your style?
I am glad you asked that because I do think that an attorney's style makes a difference when you're choosing one. Now,
Right.
I'm going to say something that some people are not going to like. I am not a fan of strict mediation, which is very popular. People, you pay one flat fee, you both go into a room, you have somebody who doesn't represent either one of you, and you try to hash out what you want to do with the kids, with the stuff, with the debt.
Oh, wow.
And in concept, that is fantastic. The problem is with mediation, you could agree on paper, you could walk out of the room, and then you can rip up that piece of paper, so the $1,500 or the $1,000, whatever you spent, is now wasted. You can do the same thing if you hire the right attorney. When I sit down with a client, the first thing I'll ask is like, what's your vision? Like, how do you want this to go? Don't tell me how you think it has to be. Don't tell me that, it's going to be awful because everybody who gets divorced, it's awful. It doesn't have to be awful.
Right.
And then I like to work with a client's expectations. So you can, even if you both hire attorneys, which I know is more expensive, if everybody's on the same page, you can get from point A to point B without spending more than you should, without fighting more than you have to. And it really does require a good relationship with your divorce attorney, which is kind of ironic when you're splitting up because you don't have a good relationship with your spouse. And now I'm going to ask you to have a good relationship with me.
Right.
Well, whoever you hire to represent you through a divorce has to be your go-to. Like I
have to
would have
trust
to
them.
know that you've got my best interest.
Right.
But I also, because I am sure you have this happen before, and probably a lot, where someone will come in and say, I want to take them for everything they have. So what do
did
you
you know?
do? Yeah. What do you do when someone, because you'll hear, oh, you better hire a shark because otherwise you're going to get screwed. So when you've got a prospective client come in and say, I want to rip the hairs out of someone.
One by one.
I want to
And
make
you're
them
like-
bleed. Suffer.
It's so funny because I have I advertise a lot, and one of my current advertisements basically says, if you come to my office and you say I'm here because I want a pit bull, I'm going to send you to the animal shelter down the block. And that's because we as attorneys have to manage our clients' expectations. Now, you've both been clients, right? So you entered into your divorces with a set of expectations. And you don't need somebody to have your back simply by yelling and screaming and pounding their fists on the table. That does not make a good divorce. You can advocate for a client quietly. You can advocate for a client effectively, and you don't have to be a jerk about it. One of the first divorces I handled when I moved back to New York, and this is a true story, and I'm going to leave out the names, although he knows who he is. I was in a divorce. I was representing the wife. This other attorney, a male attorney, was representing the husband. And we were in front of a judge, and we were, going at certain things that we were trying to divide. And he was being really cantankerous and a jerk. And so, that upset my client, and we were there for longer than we needed to be. We walked out in the hallway. My client went one way, his client went the other. I got him in the stairwell, and I said, I have to ask you a question. He's like, what? I said, do you get paid more for being an asshole? And he was just taken aback by that. But it really kind of stopped him in his tracks.
Yeah.
Because he was going through all the histrionics and theatrics, and I just wanted to, let's just divide the stuff.
Right.
Just listening to you now, I wish I can get married and get divorced again.
Right,
I
well,
want you
I'm
to be
here
my
for you.
lawyer.
I will be here for you.
I'm going to keep your contact info. No, I'm like one of those people that I was married once.
I was gonna say,
and I
will
will
you
never
do it
do it
again?
again.
Me neither.
You neither.
Me either.
All right, we're in the
Yeah,
one and
we're
done.
there.
One
It's
and
a club.
done. Yeah.
It's a little bit of a club.
I'll
What
never
about you?
say never.
I know. And that's because that's probably the smarter attitude to have.
I can't even manage a second date. So getting married, hold on.
I can't even get.
But I'm
a
leaving
date.
the door open.
It's like,
I'm leaving
hello.
the door open. What is one of the craziest demands you've ever had to go after for a client? Like, I want the one middle cushion from that couch. Just the middle cushion so he can never sit on that damn couch again. Something wild like that.
All right,
sure it's
so
gonna be
that's
fun.
funny. So a couple of thoughts. Number one, and again, getting back to like having the right attorney to have your back. I never let my clients fight about things they can easily replace, like a couch or a cushion, right? Like,
Right.
do not spend hundreds of dollars on me so that I can tell you you'd spend less. Just go buy another couch. Like, who cares? It's a couch. But I did have, and this was very recently. So speaking of kind of do it yourself, there was a couple getting divorced, and at some point during the marriage, who knows if they were drunk, they wrote out basically a prenup after they were already nupped. So we would call that a post-nup. And the post-nup basically said the wife is not only going to get absolutely everything, but let's say my client made $100,000 a year. The post-nup said, and you're going to pay me $90,000 a year for the rest of your life. Sign here on the dotted line. And they signed it.
What?
They signed it.
Does that
There was
hold up,
more than
though?
alcohol in that
There
situation.
was
that actually-
something was going on.
Does that actually hold up, though?
So a post-nup, when it's done correctly,
Yeah.
can hold up. It's a contract. When it's a valid contract, it can hold up.
Okay.
Fortunately, contracts, in order to be valid, cannot shock the conscience of the court. So if you agreed to give 90% of your income to your ex-spouse for the rest of your life, no judge is going to allow that to
right.
hold up. So
Yeah.
phew, everybody was, yeah.
So that's good. At least that one didn't
Yeah,
stick.
yeah, yeah.
Right, but so we in our circles we hear people, I'm thinking about getting divorced, and then the first thing, empty the bank account, clear it, take everything. So if someone is thinking about getting divorced, what would you suggest their first, let's say give them 3 steps, their first 2-3 steps should be?
Okay. So first, do not empty all the bank accounts because we're just going to have
Oops.
to get that money back. But what I do tell clients when they're in the planning phase, they have not filed anything, meaning they're not constrained from moving money around. If you really think you're going to get divorced, one of the things that you don't want to be in a position to be so broke that you have to depend on the other spouse to, buy the groceries or move out. Maybe you do want to move out and get an apartment. So I always say, get a little bit of a nest egg so that you can, one, pay me, which but that you have to do it. You're going to need a lawyer, and that you can supply yourself with some necessities while it's going on, if that's possible. If it's not possible, we have ways of extracting the money from the other party, but you have to file the divorce in order to make that happen. The second thing I would say, and this is cheap and easy, is go get yourself a P.O. box. That costs next to nothing. Change every single password on your email, your bank accounts, all of your online account, your damn Netflix. Just change them all. Because if it's not something that money can be moved from, which is important, like your bank accounts, it'll be something that will annoy the hell out of you. Like your Netflix
Right.
accounts, when, I don't know, when they do something, they change the password and now you can't get into it, and you'd be like, why is he doing this to me? So get personal. And then I think the third thing I would say is begin with the end in mind. Don't start this process like, I'm going to win, because divorce is not a contest. It is the process of ending the business of your marriage.
Right.
So where do you want to be when this is over? get that vision in your head. Do you want to be in an apartment? Do you want to stay in the house? Where are the kids going to be primarily? How much money are you going to have in the bank? Who's moving? Who's not moving?
Right.
Who's getting this car? Who's assuming the debt? Get that in your head, and then keep that in mind when you're tempted to, punch somebody in the face because they did something that you didn't want, or they ate the last Cheerio and you just bought that with your money. Like, you really have to keep the end in mind.
Yeah.
To keep your head on straight. If you can keep your head on straight during divorce, you have met half the battle.
I had never considered the changing all of the passwords.
No,
That's kind of
I
brilliant.
should have, though, because it did come up after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See?
No, but
did
it's
come up
it's
after.
self-care, it's self-protection.
Right.
And
Yep.
because whatever, even if it's not necessarily contentious, even if it's an amicable thing,
Right.
you don't necessarily want to be confronted. So here's a quick personal story. So my ex-husband and I, very grateful. We have a really wonderful divorced relationship, co-parenting relationship.
Excellent.
Amazing.
Excellent.
I'm jealous of her.
He happens to be a voice actor.
Oh.
And I, newly divorced, I'm stepping out. I'm trying to do more for myself. I had, my identity had gotten a little obscured by being a mom, being a wife. I didn't know who I
Sure.
was anymore.
Sure.
And I remember one day I was like, screw it. I'm going to a movie. And I was so excited. I went by myself. I was nervous, but I went by myself. I go, I get my popcorn, I got my water, I sit down in the chair. And son of a bitch, there's my ex-husband's voice over the loudspeaker in the movie theater. And
Couldn't
again,
get rid of him.
we get along, but even
Right.
still, I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
Wow.
So it's one of those things
Right.
I had not even considered preparing for.
Mm-hmm.
And in the moment, I was just like, this is going to now color my experience. But I'm able to laugh about it now. But that's,
Mm-hmm.
but changing your passwords and just realizing, when you go onto your Netflix and seeing that he's watching that movie again.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
mm-mm.
And who
So-
did he watch that with? And, yeah.
I was very kind, I think, when it was very, in agreement. We couldn't wait to get rid of each other, but I left him on my health insurance for a whole year after we got
Wow.
divorced.
That
yeah.
was very nice.
Yeah.
Very generous
for a
of
whole
you.
year. I did give him a cutoff date. I said, December, whatever it is, this is your time. So he was missing a tooth. I felt bad for him. It's like, please go get that fixed before you, literally.
No one will date you without a tooth.
Yeah, I'll be the last one. No.
That was actually very nice. of
Right?
you.
So I know you've been doing this for a long time,
Oh, boy, yeah.
and in your experiences, you were motivated to start a course to help people go
Oh.
through divorce. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. Okay. So I've been doing this, I don't even want to tell you how long. 26 years. And
Oh my God, you started when you were 4?
Yup.
Amazing.
But here's what I noticed. I noticed really a common theme because I guess, I was married for about 5 minutes and I got married late and I had the easiest divorce going and I was a lawyer at the time. So I measured everybody else against myself. That's kind of what we do. I'm like, oh,
exactly what we do.
You
yeah.
wake up one day, you want to get divorced, you hire a lawyer, you get divorced, you're done, you celebrate, you move on. And it doesn't work that way because there's just so much contention. And even, there's a thin line between love and hate. And so I noticed that, and it didn't matter whether you were the husband or the wife, that people just went through the entire process, a bundle of nerves, constantly stressed, looking for reasons to hate even more, looking for all that was bad and wrong instead of looking for all that was right and good. And so I started to analyze this, and I said, what do these people have in common? Like, why do they have to look for the bad? What can I do to help them keep their head on straight so they can go through this process positively? Because, divorce marks the end of your marriage, but it's also the beginning of the rest of your life. And how do you want the rest of your life to look? Let's look there. Yeah. So I put together... It's a course. What it is I put together some audiobooks and some written books and some videos, and it's just the basics to help people who are in the throes, either in the very beginning stages or even in the middle, get a different perspective so that it's not full of venom. And you can make decisions from a positive place that are going to serve you. Once you make one, then you make another, then you make another, and before you know it, you're like, wow, I had the best divorce
Right.
on the planet, and my kids are grateful. You know, not my kids. Your kids will be grateful for that.
Yeah.
Your family will be grateful for that. Your coworkers will be grateful for that.
Yes.
And your girlfriends who are tired of listening.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
To all the complaining. Really.
Thank you, friends.
So if people want to find out more about the course,
So and again, it's just the basics. It really scratches the surface, and maybe in the future I'll do another one that gets a little more into it. But you can go to, I have a website, it's divorceboss.tv, and you can see when you go there, there's a tab on top that says the Positively Divorced course. I tried to make it cheap. I tried to make it less expensive than 1 hour of time with your attorney.
which means it's worth it.
And and you can sit down. You can do it at your own pace. It's not going to take days. You could probably get through it in one day if you wanted to, but you can do it at your own pace. And it's there. And I really just try to give everybody a perspective, and it applies no matter who you are, whether you're the husband or whether you're the wife. But I think I probably have more women who are interested in taking that course.
That's such a great thing, because I feel like, you know, when you're even thinking about it, oh my God, should I get a divorce? It's like, it's almost like, no, I shouldn't get a divorce. It's like a taboo, and you know, people feel ashamed, and so they hold on longer than they should.
And that only makes it worse.
Yes, that's something that I can admit to doing myself. I held on way longer than I should have, because I felt alone. I felt scared, you know. I felt, I don't know if I can do this, or should I do this? You know what I mean? It was like, no, maybe I should be tougher, or, you know, maybe I should talk to him more, or, you know, it's like all these things that are going into your mind, when I would have loved to have listened to something like that and like experience that for myself, because I think it would be a tool.
And I think, you know, this doesn't happen overnight, right? Nobody wakes up on a Tuesday, rolls over and says, hey, baby, I love you so much. What do you say we call it quits? Right? They don't do that. It's a process. So by the time you finally make the leap, you've probably fallen out of love a little while before. And then the longer you stay not in a loving space, the more that it bubbles up, the more you hate him, the more you hate you, the more, and it shouldn't be about hate. It's about, you know, look, it's run its course. It's time to move on, and we're going to do it in a sound and smart and financially sound way. And it can happen. I don't care how awful you think your situation is. You can do it right.
Well, and that's what this show's about, right? It's called Splitting Upward.
Yes.
Because we're here to show you that you're not alone, and that you can actually turn a split into something positive. And
for you,
so
for
this
yourself.
is our divorce episode. Jonna, will you stick around to answer some questions? Because I know we got a bunch in. People
Couldn't
want
get rid of me if you tried.
Fantastic. So stick tight. We will be back right after this break to answer some of your questions with divorce expert Jonna Spilbor.
All right, and we're back. We're still with Jonna, and we have a ton of questions to ask you. All right, so for the first question, this is from Trisha from Delaware. All right, she says, my husband and I have been arguing more and growing distant over the last 5 years. I think if I could choose, I would get a divorce, but I'm not in a place financially, and I'm afraid getting divorced will be a long and drawn-out process. Do you think starting divorce proceedings could backfire on me?
Okay, so first of all, you can choose, right? Divorce is actually always a choice. And what a common situation she finds herself in, because I think the thing that stymies people the most are they're just afraid, how are they going to live? What's going to happen to the money? Especially when you have a couple, and it's common, and we call it here in New York, if one spouse is the moneyed spouse, meaning they're the breadwinner, and the other spouse might be taking care of the kids and might just work a part-time job, and that's all he or she has done for the duration of the marriage. It is scary because, look, you know, we can say it all day long, but you don't just wake up one day and apply for a job and get a six-figure job out of the gate when you've been raising your kids for
No, you do not.
8 or 9 or 10 years, right?
Right.
Now, fortunately, the law in most states, it knows that, right? So when you do start the divorce process, there are things you can do that would force the moneyed spouse to start paying you what we call interim maintenance. Maintenance is the new word for alimony. And if you physically,
I like that. I like that a lot.
if you physically split up and you have children, the person who does not have the children primarily would also have to pay child support. And it starts ASAP. It doesn't start at the end. It starts at the beginning. So there are ways to make it affordable. Plus, what we talked about a little while ago is if you know this is going to be in the cards for you, borrow some money from your mom, borrow some money from grandma, squirrel a little bit away so you have a little bit of a comfort zone. And you can, and look, you can do it. I'm not blaming her. I'm not saying she has an excuse. It sounds like she might have an excuse, but there are ways to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a person who did it, so that was one of my concerns financially. Like, how am I going to do it? But then I realized, wait a minute, I already do everything with the finances, so it's like, wait a minute, I don't need. Okay, you just have to like measure it up for yourself. I feel, and like you said, start saving a nest egg. If you feel like this is something that is right for you and your happiness, do it. You have to do it.
All right, and now you know, Trish, from Delaware, you've got some possible protections in place with an interim maintenance. All right, we've got another question from Anonymous. They write in so many questions. It's bizarre. My husband and I have decided to divorce, but we're both living in the same house with our 2 children. Neither of us wants to move. It's frustrating staying there with us butting heads all the time, but it might be better for the kids if one of us leaves so we're not arguing all the time. I'm afraid, and I actually was thinking about this before, I'm afraid that if I move out, it will affect what I get in the divorce. I've heard you shouldn't move out until your divorce is final. Is that true?
Okay. So that's false.
Because this is a big one. Abandonment is something that you hear about all the time. So tell us, can you, if you move out of your place of residence before the divorce is final, can it hurt you in the divorce?
So, and it used to be able to hurt you in the divorce, as you mentioned, if it were deemed abandonment. We are fortunately, in 2019, in fact, New York was the last state in the entire country to adhere to what we now call no-fault divorce. So abandonment, adultery, cruel and inhuman treatment, like, while those grounds still exist, they really don't, because once somebody files under no fault, everything else falls away. So if you're not getting along with your spouse and you want to move out to keep the peace, by all means, sister, move out. And here's what you have to remember. So if you move out, let's say you're both on the mortgage, right? Most people have a mortgage. What's going to happen is you're going to have to move out. You're going to end up paying your own way until you get the maintenance and the child support, assuming the children come with you. And your spouse is going to have to pay the carrying charges on that house. So it does add a little bit of a financial burden, but you have to juxtapose that against, if you're going to murder each other, if you stay under the same roof, it might be worth. And plus, at the end of the day, meaning at the end of the divorce, you're going to have your own expenses anyway. So if you start now, you start later. And you can also get the kids in a routine where, they're visiting dad or they're visiting you, whoever is going to get primary custody of them. And you can start it during the process to sort of ease them into it. So it's not a bad thing. She's not going to shoot her, or Anonymous, whoever, is not going to shoot him or herself in the foot if they choose to leave.
Yeah, I think whatever is like the healthiest for you and your family.
Mentally.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
emotionally.
Because the emotions run wild during a divorce for the parents, for the children. And so whatever you feel the most sane, whatever sane situation and safe, do that. Do that. You must do that for yourself and for your children. I have a question from Lori from New Jersey. She wants to know, what do you do when your kids tell you that your ex-husband drinks alcohol all the time when he's with them?
Okay, yeah. I've also seen this movie. All right, so that's not good, obviously, because you want your kids to be safe regardless of what parent they're spending time with. So so there are 2 schools of thought on this. I have some clients who, when they get a report that the other parent is doing something wrong, their immediate reaction is to, well, I'm going to run back to family court and I'm going to get this stopped and I'm going to take his visitation away. And sometimes that is the best thing to do. I'm of the school of, hang on a second. Your kids reported this to you. It very well could be true. But pick up the phone. You guys have to co-parent, which means you also have to communicate. pick up the phone, go have lunch, get in his face and say, this is what was reported to me. Is everything okay? How much truth is there to it? You know, we can't have you driving the kids around. If, God forbid, if you're drunk, what if they fall down and hit their head and you can't get in the car and take them to the hospital because you had a 6-pack? Like, this is the kind of thing that you do need to communicate. And if you're not comfortable as the parent asking that your children are safe, then by all means, you get back in family court and you do what you need to do as a parent. I am an advocate for keeping the courts out of it for as long as you possibly can without endangering anybody's welfare. Because especially when I have clients, ladies, with kids that are 1, 2. I have people who have divorced while children were in utero. That means you have a long time.
Yeah.
You have a long time to have to get along. And I don't just mean, it's not Thanksgiving and Christmas. It's every darn day when you have little children you have to get along. So let's try to get there. And you don't get along by racing back to the courthouse for every little thing without investigating first.
Right.
I have a question.
Yes.
What about before you get married? Do you recommend prenups?
Now, okay. The answer to that is yes and no. Here's who I recommend them for. Now, if you're fresh out of college, you're in love.
Well, don't get married if you're
You
fresh
don't-
out of college.
yeah,
First of all, give
right.
yourself some time.
It happens.
You don't have a lot, you haven't amassed any sort of fortune.
Right.
Do you need a prenup in that case? No, you don't.
No, yeah.
You really don't. And there's really nothing to protect at that point.
Right.
However, if this is your second time around, or if you, like me, I got married a little bit late. I was in my 30s. If you're getting married later and you have a career and you've amassed some stuff on your own, you're crazy if you don't have one. And I mean that sincerely. And they're very inexpensive to do. And it doesn't mean you don't love the person that you're about to walk down the aisle
Yeah, I
with.
think that's the deal, though. I think that's what people kind of feel it means. It's like, just in case we break up, because it might happen, probably, maybe, who knows?
Statistically, it's going to happen.
It's going to happen. Oh, what is the statistic now?
Over 70%.
Is it really now?
Over
It's gone up?
70%. Yes.
Wow.
And here's how I explain it to clients who complain. It's not romantic to be planning for a divorce. But here's the thing. You want somebody to be in a relationship with you because they want to be, not because they have to be. Right. And if you protect your assets from the get-go, then you know if you guys are in love, you're in love because you're in love. You're not in love for any other reason.
Right.
And it's
a good way to look at it.
Yeah. And
that is a good way.
I don't think there's anything unromantic about it. And along those lines, and I know that's not one of our questions, but if you are a second time around, or third, or fourth, or fifth, and you have children, and your spouse has children from other relationships, the other thing you got to think about is you can think about divorce, obviously, but estate planning, because you don't want your blended families fighting over your stuff when one of you dies and stepmom's getting it.
Yes.
So that's another thing that you have to think about in the divorce purview the longer you've been on this planet.
Right.
That's absolutely something that I think a lot of people don't consider.
Right.
And then what if, because this happens a lot too, right? Let's say you are fresh out of college and you get married, and in that time your spouse is going to medical school, and then they become a super fantastic dermatologist plastic surgeon. You know, boobs or Botox. It's one or the other. It's making you a lot of money. So now you've been together for 20 years, and now your spouse is bringing in, maybe even 7 figures. At what point do you decide to put a postnup in place? Can you even do that?
So that's a really
tricky.
excellent question, because there's no guarantee that in order to have a postnup, the people nupping would have to agree on that. You can't force, in other words, you can't force a postnup like you can force the splitting of assets in a divorce. So I would say, and if somebody came to me and said, I'm the plastic surgeon, said if I'm the spouse and I want my husband to sign this prenup, it doesn't have to be the husband, it could be the wife. I would advise somebody not to have a prenup if they were primarily the moneyed spouse, unless it would have to be, let me take that back. It would depend on, if it were being done from a total place of fairness. Like when you were explaining, you kept your ex on your health insurance because you wanted to be fair. He had a problem with his tooth.
Yes.
If it was coming from a place like that and not coming from the place of my other client who said, you're going to pay me $90,000 a year for the rest of your life,
Right.
I might change my mind. I might say, you know what, we can come to an agreement that's going to be workable and save you a ton of money if you do end up getting divorced.
Yeah.
So I stand correct. I'm correcting my own answer on that.
All right.
Yeah.
Amazing. Jonna Spilbor, divorce attorney, fabulous woman. Thank you for hanging out with us this afternoon.
This was
So much
fun.
great information you gave us and our
I hope
listeners.
so. I hope
Well, so we talked
Wonderful.
about Positively Divorced course, which you can find on divorceboss.tv. And if you want to actually hire Jonna, get her on retainer, you can get to her website at jonnaspilborlaw.com. That's JONNASPILBOR law.com. Jonna, thank you so much for coming in and being here with us.
you. Ladies,
I
it's an honor to be here.
suspect that because pretty much what we talk about is the journey of single motherhood.
Right.
We're going to end up having lots of questions, so we'll probably do another divorce episode.
Yes,
at
for
some
sure.
point.
Part 2? Call me up for the part 2.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for being here, Jonna. You've
Thank
been
you,
listening to
Jonna.
the divorce episode of
Splitting Upward.
I'm Julie. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Julie on the mic.
And I'm Jesenia. You can find me on, oh my gosh, all my handles are different. All right, so Instagram is Jesenia Grams. Twitter is Jesenia tweets, not twits, tweets. And on Facebook, it's Jesenia NYC. There you go. Just learn how to spell Jesenia. That's all you got to do. That's the hard part.
And if you've got questions, send us a tweet, #AskSplittingUpward.com, and follow us at Splitting Upward. Bye.
Bye. Next time.